Welcome everybody to Cornwall Chamber of Commerce podcast. My name's Kim Conchie. I'm the Chief Executive of Cornwall Chamber of Commerce. I'm delighted to have with me today Julie Caplin-Grey, who's the Deputy Chief Executive and the Finance Director of Hall for Cornwall, but more pertinently at the moment is leading Cornwall's bid for the City of Culture 2025. So a very warm welcome to you, Julie. I'm really looking forward to getting my head around this.
Oh, it's really lovely to be here. Thanks for inviting me to talk about it.
Well, we're absolutely thrilled, and I have an inbuilt warmth towards this City of Culture bid. First of all, from sitting on the boards of things like Golden Tree Productions with you, but hearing some of what other cities of culture have said about the economic uplift, I think it's something that we really want to get behind at Cornwall Chamber of Commerce. So, just wanted to put some facts behind that and enthuse our members, or at least inform them about what this might mean for Cornwall. So, City of Culture, it seems a bit weird that Cornwall has to pitch for something that's called City of Culture. Is it really just for Truro, or is there a sort of pan-Cornwall embracing here of what we're going to be heading for, Julie?
Well, I think in that true Cornish style, where we're kind of innovating the concept, aren't we? So generally these kind of cultural designations have gone to cities in the past, but actually, culture doesn't just happen in cities, and I think the whole of Cornwall is something that should be celebrated, and we've got all the potential here to offer a really interesting designation. So it's not just Truro, it is all of Cornwall, and we're able to do that because the DCMS, Department of Culture, Media and Sport, who make the award, have kind of adapted the rules as they've gone along. So they've caught up with our thinking that places like Cornwall, creative rural regions, are just as exciting a proposition as a city.
But we still have to live with the moniker City of Culture, do we? Or are we lobbying for change to, I don't know, Region of Culture, for example?
No, I think we'll proudly, if we are awarded, use the title City of Culture. I think we'll look for descriptions for ourselves like Ruralopolis or kind of. But there's ways that we can talk about what Cornwall is like in this regard. In that, if you look at it, we've got as many great businesses, we've got national brands like Tate and Eden, we've got over 1,000 artists making work, we've got really active culture in our communities through brass bands and male voice choirs. We've got all of this if you look at Cornwall as a whole. So actually I think we'll just keep understanding that we've got all of the assets of a city and make the best of it.
I'm delighted to hear you refer in that sort of opening sentence about sort of things like choirs and the spread of things we've got in Cornwall. So it's not sort of just highbrow culture that we'll be presenting our bid for, Julie. It's sort of a whole right down to sort of street culture and festivals and so on that we're so rich in Cornwall. All of those will be involved, will they?
Yeah, I think one of the really interesting things about this kind of process is that it's a bidding process, isn't it? And what they're looking for us is for every place to come up with its distinctive proposal. So no one designation ever looks like another. And if you're going to do something that's authentic and real and meaningful to people in Cornwall, you have to provide a programme that reflects us. So all of the stuff you describe, that's the brilliance and that's the specialness of the place. So it's as much about community culture as it is about brilliant theatre or fantastic creative industries, tech companies. It's all of these things because we have all these things.
We do. That's fantastic to hear, actually. And that's where businesses are, across Cornwall. So it sounds from what you said then, so not just the sort of strictly businesses that might see themselves in sort of high culture, but actually businesses in communities and so on have really got something to add here by the sound of it. And you said it's led by a UK government department, so it wasn't an EU thing. Some people I was talking to about it were confusing it with an EU. Was that called City of Culture or was that called something else?
No, so we've obviously taken this idea from the European Capitals of Culture programme that, if you remember, both Glasgow and Liverpool were brilliant recipients of. And actually, when Liverpool hosted the last one, it was kind of so powerful and so impactful that the UK government looked at it and went, actually, the UK only gets every 20 years the opportunity to be a European capital of culture. So why don't we change that, innovate the model? And they came up with UK City of Culture as something that across the four nations happens every 4 years. And that's a brilliant opportunity more regularly for places in the UK to take the opportunity that this kind of designation brings.
Fantastic. So it's every 4 years, and did we decide in Cornwall to bid, or were we asked to bid? And what's the sort of, just briefly, the sort of bidding process? How much does it cost, and what stage you're at the moment, Julie?
I guess we've been thinking about this sort of bid for a while. As you know, you and I have been having this conversation over many years about how does Cornwall get this kind of accolade? How do we use this sort of accolade to really make a difference for Cornwall? So I think in answer, we weren't asked to bid, but it's been on the radar for a long time. The local enterprise partnership strategy, the whole strategy is around being a creative and carbon neutral economy by 2030. This type of really significant Cornwall-wide designation gives you a springboard to some of that kind of broader Cornwall ambition. So I think it's in line with what, you know, we're thinking about in Cornwall. It's there to be had. We took the opportunity on the back of a really successful G7. I think kind of just generally, local enterprise partnership, Cornwall Council felt really enthused by what we could do with an opportunity like G7 in a really short amount of time. So the idea to bid kind of came absolutely energy built behind that after G7. We made the long list, and when you make the long list, with the 20 of us, I think, made the long list, or 20 bid, 8 of us made the long list. At that stage, DCMS, Department of Culture, Media and Sport, gives each area £40,000, which we've had matched with some money from the Let and Cornwall Council to develop the bid from long list to short list stage. The great thing about that is 90% of that has gone out to the sector, using organisations and kind of building the programme with our businesses in Cornwall. So already that's had a bit of an impact. So we've now used that resource, built a really hopefully credible bid. It went in on Wednesday. We hear whether we've made the final four, I think in March. If we have made the final four, they come and do a visit, which will be really interesting in April. We get to kind of bring our bid to life, if you like, and have the panel to come and visit us. And then the final decision is in May. So it's quite a quick process.
It is, isn't it? My goodness me, no wonder you've been working so hard on it. That is, for a public sector thing, that's quite a quick turnaround, isn't it, really? Now, when we're based in Cornwall and lovers of the art and culture and just community spirit in Cornwall, like you and I are, you know, we know of the amount of things going on here. How does it, with your feeling now that you've immersed yourself in this, how do we actually look compared with other parts of the country? Are there more? I mean, to me, and talking to friends in other parts of the country, we have far more, you know, whether we all have our favourites, whether it be Flora Day or Mevagissey Feast Week or whatever it might be. Are there more things like that going on in Cornwall that would enrich a bid for a city of culture? It just seems to me there are far more culture immersed in the community in Cornwall than other places I've been and lived.
I think it's a huge strength for us. So you mentioned Mevagissey Feast Week, very close to my heart, being a Mevagissey girl. So, you know, we're really blessed. I think there's something like over 500 feast days and festivals in the annual kind of calendar for Cornwall. So I think we've got all of that kind of grassroots stuff is really strong. And I think one of the things that we'll do to, you know, you get a year to celebrate your culture. It's a really great way to get every bit of Cornwall, every parish, if you like. I kind of have a feeling like every parish has kind of got to feel this and get involved. So all of those feast days and festivals are a really good route to that. I think on top of that, we've chosen a strong theme. Every bid for every place, you know, you have to kind of come up with your distinctive story and your themes. And as you know, we've chosen kind of the environment as a really consistent theme in this. Our themes are people, place and planet. So that theme of, you know, the relationship between culture and environment here is really strong. And I think it's a theme and an area of interest that's really appealing to our communities, particularly our young people, and is actually of interest beyond Cornwall. So the things that we might do here in terms of projects, in terms of, you know, major pieces of work we do, they'll all have the environment as a key theme. And I think that gives our bid a real strength and uniqueness that I think will be different to the other bids that are on the table. And I think, you know, I think we've got some really, along with all of that great community cultural stuff, we've got some really brilliant exemplary cultural organisations and amazing art galleries, and a brand new theatre that we've just built in Truro, and the list goes on. We've got lots of ingredients.
It really does. It's not just the street culture, although I have danced the midday floor, so I didn't pick those two by accident. I knew that they would chime with both of us. But having visited the new hall for Cornwall, and being a director, a development director of Newlyn and the Exchange Gallery, it's just we have got the absolute pinnacles of quality, as you say, with Tate and Eden and so many others. It's it does spread right through our culture, I think. And I might have said to you before that my great aunt was married to Harold Harvey, the only Cornishman in the Newlyn school. So I think what we're doing now as a place is the 21st century equivalent of some of that rich artistic heritage that we've had here. So no, I think it's very exciting. So on to what businesses can do. I was talking to Glenn at the LEP about the uplift in the economy that Coventry have reported to him. Therefore, I suppose it's important that businesses generally and organisations like the Chamber of Commerce get behind this. What can we actually do, Julie, to help you get this bid across the line? So first of all, get in the shortlist, and then if we do get a visit, what do we need to look like when DCMS come and visit us?
Well, you're absolutely right. So you can look at Coventry, you can look at Hull, you can look at Liverpool. All of those cities that have been awarded designations like this in the past see really significant impact for their communities. So you're talking in the hundreds of millions if you get it right. So it's a prize really worth winning. I think in terms of what businesses can do, I hope that we'll be able to see, and it's quite obvious. In a way, your culture and creative industries, your artists, your museums are putting on the show, but it's all of the things that sit behind that, all of the supply chains, all of the accommodation providers, the food provider. There's a whole kind of knock on to the wider business community if we're successful with this. So that it's a really great opportunity. I think in terms of getting involved, we've just launched the website, which is brilliant. I'm just checking. I'll just check the details for you. That it's www.cornwall2025.com. So check out the information on the website, and we're at Cornwall 2025 for any social media. So at the moment, really what we're looking for is enthusiasm, support through social media channels, a kind of sense that actually Cornwall wants to host it, which is, to be honest, the feeling I get whenever I'm talking about this to audiences. We can see this as a prize worth winning. We think we've got what it takes to do it brilliantly, and we want to make some noise about that. So for the next bit, it's all about that. In terms of when we have a visit, the lessons I've learned from other places is don't try to be anything other than yourself. So the fact that I hope people will talk enthusiastically, authentically, personally, genuinely about why this is a good thing for Cornwall, why, all of these things are around tackling our economic performance or levelling up. Just because we look great and are a great tourist destination doesn't mean we don't have the pockets of poverty and deprivation that are more obvious in perhaps urban spaces. So that balance between, yes, we've got all of these brilliant things, but actually Cornwall's got some really significant challenges that we continue to address. That strikes the right balance, I think. Understand the need, why it's important, and understand we've got the potential to grab this and make the most of it for Cornwall.
And I think hearing your passion and the LEP's desire for the City of Culture, I guess if we get shortlisted, that's going to be hugely exciting. The projects that are being put in place feel, from what you've said, like they're heading towards the creative and carbon net zero ambitions of Cornwall Council anyway. So if things start being done now, and let's hope not, but if we weren't successful, presumably those are all useful projects in the direction of travel that Cornwall and the Ardsley are working in anyway. So we're not sort of wasting our time doing this, are we? Is that, would you get that impression?
Oh, these things are never wasted. I think having gone through the process, talking to communities, talking to schools, talking to our sector, there's so much potential here that we should be looking at anyway. And, I've been so impressed I've been given a really fantastic opportunity to pull this together. it's incredible what we've done in a short amount of time, and there are many investable ideas, propositions, aspirations in there that we can grab, whether we get the prize or not. It would be lovely if we do. That would just be the icing on the cake, but I feel like we've got something here we can share with partners, with funders, with investors, and there's plenty in here to do, even if we aren't successful. And we've watched places do that before. Newcastle didn't get it the year that Liverpool won it, and they just carried on and did some amazing things in Newcastle with their cultural work. So we're still only a 1 in 8 chance. I think we stand a good chance to get on the short list, but we'll do something fantastic even if we don't win.
Well, that's great to hear. So for the moment then, businesses, you just want their support of as many and as strongly from the business community as possible. No doubt, I guess, as we get nearer to the prize, there'll be tighter communications around sort of sponsorship deals and hosting events and this sort of thing. But I guess that's sort of stage 2 once we're a bit more into this. So at the moment, it's really just about spreading the word. Is there space on if you can just give us that web address again, and then if there are things that businesses can do on there to show their support, do let us know, and anything else as we move towards that May deadline. If there are stages where businesses can help, Julie, then put some markers in the sand now if you wish.
Yep, so the website again is www.cornwall2025.com. I think we're evolving that site as we go along, and obviously, as you say, as we step between sort of this phase where we're waiting to see if we're shortlisted. If we're shortlisted, there'll be some more activity rolling out, and if we win, as you say, there'll be a whole set of things we'll want to do with our business community in terms of taking advantage of the opportunities around partnership, sponsorship. So I think we've got a number of steps along the way. I'm hoping that there will be a way that we'll be able to businesses and also the cultural sector can start to lend their support through the website. So we'll just keep you posted on what that looks like, but bang the drum, as they say.
And you think we got a chance of winning, do you?
Oh, I really do. It feels like it might be Cornwall's moment this time.
Well, I think after the successes and the profile that Cornwall's had with G7, with several television programs and so on, I think that it does feel like our time to shine. I mean, this has been my message to businesses generally for the last few years, that whereas the second half of the 20th century didn't really suit Cornwall, this sort of internet era where it doesn't matter where businesses are based, where creativity comes back into play, where small batch production and enjoyment of one's environment and those things come more to the fore in business and in life. I think this is our time to shine, and I do hope that the sort of powers that be recognise the strides ahead that Cornwall Council's taking with its first local authority to declare a climate emergency, this sort of thing, that we are really heading in the right direction. And I do like the feeling that we are breaking the mold. I think we've always loved that as Cornish people, haven't we? That we aren't following slavishly what somebody else is doing. We're innovating, and this would be an opportunity to get, I think, not only creatives in the county, but actually everybody working for something which would put us on the map in a very appropriate way, I feel.
I think that's absolutely right. I think it's about these things are never overnight successes, are they? So we've spent 20 years building a fantastic creative industries university. We have made our digital connectivity something to be admired. That means you're absolutely right. Creative content now doesn't have to be consumed live by audiences. We are connected because of our cultural history to an amazing international diaspora who would like products and content from Cornwall. So we've got this brilliant international audience. We've got the capacity to reach them. We've got the business and the creatives to do so. So we've got all of these ingredients. But in the end, all of this stuff, when you boil it down, participation in cultural activity in Cornwall is about just making people have a better time in their lives. And actually, having been closed down for 2 years and lots of our young people not having opportunities to do things, the thought, as I said to you earlier, I've been living in 2025 writing this bit, and it's a really lovely thing to imagine ourselves in a time in a few years hence when we could just have a really enjoyable, wonderful year full of great things, and for people in Cornwall all through the year, you know, January to December, to have a brilliant range of things to do, to just have a wonderful time in that year.
Lovely. What an upbeat, visionary moment to end on then, Julie. So Julie Caplin-Grey, Deputy Chief Executive of Hall for Cornwall, but more importantly at the moment, leading Cornwall's bid for City of Culture 2025. Get on the website, show your support. We'll keep in touch with the Chamber of Commerce as what we can do to help going ahead. But for now, Julie, the very best of luck from all of us. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.